James Morgan was a simple-looking man. He was wearing worn-out jeans, a faded t-shirt, and a pair of boots that bore the marks of time. By age 50, he had spent his life as a hard worker, doing small repair jobs to support his wife and children. Even so, he always remained discreet, a man that few would notice as he walked down the street. One day, James decided to fulfill a dream of many years, buying a luxury car. It was a cherished wish, a way to celebrate a silent victory in his journey of work and resilience. So he went to a renowned auto store in Manhattan. Upon entering, he was immediately enchanted by the shine of the shiny cars, the leather upholstery, and the unmistakable smell of new vehicles that permeated the environment. Upon seeing James enter, the salesman, Ethan Grant, didn't hide his contemptuous look. Ethan was a young and ambitious man, accustomed to serving well-heeled and impeccably dressed clients. When he caught sight of James, he found it difficult to hide his disdain. Ethan, with his tailored suit and cynical smile, approached and, with a raised eyebrow, asked coldly, "Well, sir, looking for something for your budget range?" James took a deep breath, ignoring Ethan's tone, and calmly said that he was interested in one of the most expensive models in the store, a shiny and fast Italian sports car. Ethan let out a sarcastic laugh in disbelief at James's seriousness. The salesperson then made a point of belittling the man in front of other employees and customers, causing laughter and whispers in the store. James tried to maintain his posture, but the look of disappointment on his face was visible. He left the store in silence, and Ethan and the other salespeople's comments still echoed as he crossed the street. What no one there knew was that James was about to turn things around in a way that Ethan would never forget. The next day, store employees were still talking about the funny scene of the simple man who wanted to buy a luxury car. Ethan, in particular, felt like he was the smartest of the group, repeating the scene to his colleagues as if it were a joke. He recounted in detail James's innocent look and the serious tone with which the man spoke about the expensive car, laughing as if it were something impossible to believe. James, on the other hand, spent the next day reflecting on what happened. He knew that in the eyes of those salespeople, he was just an ordinary man without the appearance of a customer with money. But what Ethan and the others didn't know was the true story behind James Morgan. For decades, James had saved money with discipline and patience. He worked 2 jobs, worked overtime, and never turned down a service opportunity. He had invested part of the money in small businesses and knew how to use it intelligently. James was not just a worker. He was also a small businessman who discreetly invested in real estate in simpler areas of New York and surrounding areas. However, for him, ostentation never made sense. James preferred to keep his lifestyle simple and low-key. Therefore, the humiliation at the car store had caused him a mixture of frustration and determination. He didn't care what people thought about his appearance, but he knew there was a lesson to be taught, not just for Ethan, but for everyone who judged others by their appearance. In the days that followed, James searched for a solution that would allow him to demonstrate the value of people beyond appearances. He made calls to friends, sought information, and organized his next move carefully and discreetly. After getting everything ready, James dressed simply again, picked up a check representing part of a lifetime's investment, and returned to the store with a new plan in mind. James entered the car store again, without fanfare, and noticed that Ethan was serving a well-dressed couple, but his gaze soon met the salesman's. Upon seeing James, Ethan gave a wry smile, visibly uncomfortable with the return of the unlikely client. He quickly ended the session with the couple and approached, trying to hide his disdain. "You're back," said Ethan in a tone of false surprise. "Oh, still interested in our exclusive model?" James remained calm and, without showing any discomfort, just nodded. Yes, I'm still interested in that Italian model I looked at last time. Ethan's cynical smile became more evident, but for professional reasons, he decided to play the game and made a quick movement with his hand, inviting James to accompany him to the $1 million sports car. He listed the specs, performance, and technology with an almost theatrical tone, but visibly not believing that James could actually afford the car. And of course, Ethan added with an intonation full of sarcasm, "I think I can arrange a special payment condition, something more flexible for you." With patience, James listened to everything. When Ethan finished, the humble customer reached out calmly and took a check out of his pocket. Upon seeing the price, the seller froze. The amount fully covered the value of the car, without installments. James continued in a calm tone, "I don't need a special condition. I prefer to pay in cash." Ethan, unable to believe his eyes, stuttered for a moment. The once confident face was now pale. The other vendors, attracted by the movement, also began to approach, witnessing the moment with incredulous looks. Well, sir, I'll need to confirm the payment with management," Ethan said, almost stumbling over his words as he picked up the check. James just nodded. In the same calm tone, he added, "Oh, and please write down my business address. You can send the car directly to my company." Ethan couldn't believe what he was hearing. When he got the address, he noticed that it belonged to a reputable real estate company based in Manhattan that he had never heard of. But the importance of the client he had just humiliated days before was clear. He understood at that moment that he had misjudged the man in a terrible way. While waiting for the purchase process to be completed, James continued to observe the reactions around him. Several salespeople were whispering among themselves, and Ethan, clearly uncomfortable, avoided looking at the customer he had so recently despised. The store manager, upon noticing the development of events, approached with a forced smile and exaggerated cordiality. "Mr. Morgan, I'm the store manager. It's a great pleasure to have you with us," he said, holding out his hand in nervous haste. "I apologize for any inconvenience that may have occurred during your previous visit." James shook the manager's hand but kept a steady gaze. It was clear that the respectful behavior and cordiality came from recognizing the hefty check he had presented. He realized at that moment that the real problem was not just with Ethan, but with the entire culture of that environment, where employees clearly judged customers by their appearance. For James, this was an opportunity to inspire change. He decided that he wouldn't just make a purchase. He would do something that would serve as a lesson for the entire team at that store. So he asked for a meeting with the manager and Ethan, requesting privacy in one of the store's rooms. Inside the room, the atmosphere was tense. Ethan, uncomfortable, tried to maintain a professional demeanor while the manager waited anxiously. Bluntly, James explained the reason for their meeting, with a calmness that made the words sound even more profound. "I come from a humble family. I worked hard to earn every penny I have, and I know that many ordinary men and women who don't walk around in designer clothes or expensive cars can be valuable customers. The difference is that they don't spend money to prove anything to others," he said, looking directly at Ethan. The manager tried to interrupt, but James continued, "It is important that you see beyond appearance. I'm not just a customer. I am a man who values respect. And today, I was treated in a way that should not happen to anyone. When someone comes in here, they deserve to be treated with dignity, regardless of how they are dressed." Ethan felt his face flush, but James didn't stop there. He took out of his pocket a short list of luxury cars that he would like to buy for a new project involving his real estate company, and declared his intention to acquire them all as long as there was a change. "I hope that this experience not only guarantees good service for me, but inspires a new way of treating those who come here. And if I see that this store is committed to treating people with respect, I will continue investing. Otherwise, it will be my last purchase. concluded James. The meeting ended with heavy silence, and both Ethan and the manager felt the weight of the client's words. It wasn't just a done deal, it was a powerful example of how empathy and respect could build lasting, more valuable relationships. The following week, news about the millionaire customer in disguise began to circulate among store employees, gaining momentum. Each of the employees was affected by James's words and attitude, and management began to implement some changes. Ethan, especially, was uncomfortable with his own image after the episode. He had never reflected on how he treated people and came to realize that his arrogant attitude and hasty judgments alienated potential clients and colleagues. To transform its reputation, the store manager organized a small meeting with all employees, highlighting that the experience with James should serve as a reference for service from now on. Ethan, visibly affected by his own guilt and his colleagues' disapproval, remained silent. That night he reflected for a long time and the next day decided to take action. He looked up the address of James's real estate company and prepared a letter of sincere apology, explaining that he had understood the lesson. He wanted to express his intention to change, regardless of any business arrangement. When Ethan sent the letter, he did not expect a response. "I just wanted to try to make amends, at least a little, for what I had done." Days later, a response arrived. James not only accepted the apology, but also invited him to visit one of his new ventures. He wanted to introduce Ethan to his team and show the value of treating all customers with respect and care, values he cultivated at his company. Upon visiting James's company, Ethan was impressed. The team was welcoming, and James made a point of greeting each employee by name, creating an environment of respect and collaboration. Ethan noticed the difference between that place and the car store, where each customer was seen as just a cipher. James led him to a meeting room and bluntly told him, "Ethan, you learned an important lesson, but you still have a long way to go. Someone's true value is not in how they look, but in how they treat others." Ethan nodded silently, absorbing the words. "I hope you take this back to the store and make a difference," James concluded. The following week, Ethan returned to work differently, more attentive to each client and less concerned with appearances. The store began to attract a varied clientele, and Ethan's attitude transformed the service for the better. As the months passed, Ethan really changed. His more respectful and attentive approach to customers began to attract attention, and he became one of the store's most sought-after salespeople. The transformation was so remarkable that the manager offered him a promotion, highlighting his new behavior as an example for the team. One day, James returned to the store not to buy, but to observe. When he saw Ethan in action, he noticed the impact of his lesson. The salesman was talking to a simple-looking couple, but now with the same respect and care with which he served more sophisticated customers. At the end of the visit, James came over and shook Ethan's hand. "I heard you changed," James said with a slight smile. "That's what matters." To Ethan, that gesture of approval was worth as much as any commission. He finally understood that more than just selling cars, he had the power to build relationships and leave a positive impact on people. With James's respect and management's support, Ethan finally felt like he had left behind the stigma of arrogance. He kept James's words in mind and began to inspire his colleagues to follow suit. Over time, the store's environment was completely transformed. Employees treated all customers with attention and dignity, and this brought not only more sales, but also a positive reputation for the store. Months later, Ethan received unexpected news. James had nominated his name for a position at a renowned luxury dealership chain that was looking to reformulate its service. When the store manager learned of the recommendation, he was impressed by James's prestige and congratulated Ethan on the growth and change he had brought about. A few years later, Ethan held a prominent position at the new dealership and was recognized for his empathy and competence. He never again underestimated a client or anyone based on their appearance, and whenever someone asked about his motivation, he remembered the simple man who changed his life.